Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Eris, and today I'm going to show you guys how I made a card holder. So I'm using croc skin embossed on cowhide, and to start with I cut out 4 pieces of cardboard, and I'm going to use this to create a mold. Usually they make this out of wood and other strong items, but I don't have that, so I am basically just taping 4 layers of cardboard to choose the thickness, and this is going to actually determine the size and pretty much everything about the card holder we're making today. So let's begin. I'm just going to trace out the zip. I don't know why I did this first, it's supposed to be later on, but I guess I just wanted to show you guys how it's supposed to be. So I'm basically going to trace my mold on some cardboard paper, and to create the main piece I just sort of traced it twice, and I put a space of 2 centimeters in between so that I'll be able to fold it. And as usual, I'm going to sort of trace 1 centimeter all around because I am going to need the allowance for turning in, and that's what I'm going to use to cut out the main part of my work. So I sort of traced it also, and I added another 1 centimeter at the bottom for the inner part. So first I'm going to cut out the outer piece, and I am choosing this place because I want this part of the pattern to be in my design, and I wanted it to be sort of centralized. I didn't want the pattern to be on one side and not. I just wanted everything to look really good because this was actually for a customer, so I had to take extra care when I was making this. So I'm just going to put this aside and cut the rest parts, and I'm going to trace out the template that I made for the inner part, and this is what I'm going to use to make the card slots inside the wallet. And I glued fabric to the bottom of it because it's pretty soft, and I wanted to show whereby it doesn't get to stretch, and it sort of helps the card slide in smoothly, I guess. So I'm just going to cut these 2 out and put it aside. And this is actually a piece that is basically 12 centimeter by 4. Sorry, I skipped this, and this is for the middle of the inner part of the card holder, and this is what's going to join the 2 inner pieces together. So sorry I skipped this. I'm going to put the pattern on when I'm done. I'm going to show you guys everything. So for basically what I'll say is a skeleton of the purse, so the card holder, I'm cutting out exactly the same size on hard board, and I'm going to cut this one twice, so it's going to sort of create the frame of the card holder. So this is the back of the part I'm going to use to make the card slots in 2 pieces. And off camera I sort of just cut a strip that I'm going to use to make a handle, and there I have my zip, and here I have the small piece for the inner part and 2 pieces for the hard frame of the card holder. And yes, last but not the least, I have the main piece here. This leather is so gorgeous. I wish I got more. And for the accessories, I have a small bag hook and a tiny D-ring for the strap. So the dimensions, and let's get to work. So first, and very important, you're going to have to skive the main piece all around. I'm skiving just a little above 1 centimeter because I want to be able to turn it in and have it really flat and wrap around the hard board. And this is just sort of extra measures for me. I wanted to be sure exactly where I was going to place the board in, so this step is not really necessary, but I like when my work is extra neat, especially when it's for a client. So I sort of just trace out the areas that I'm going to put the hardboard in and draw out my 2 centimeter in between. So I'm just sort of going to drop it in those spaces. And to do that, I am using contact glue, and I'm basically just rubbing it all over the area that I'm going to be turning in. I'm leaving the middle alone. So it's basically just the edges and the spaces on either side of the piece. So I'm just going to apply both on the leather and also on the card, because the first rule of contact glue is you gotta rub both surfaces. If not, it's not going to bond properly. So I'm just going to arrange this. This took way longer than this, but I just had to speed it up so you guys see it's at warp speed. So here I'm using the bone folder, and I'm just going around the edges first before I flip it. I just sort of rub it and let it, just make sure. And then I just fold it in. I use my piercing owl, and I just pinch in the tight corners, and I use my hammer to bit it down. And basically I do the same thing for all four, because you want it to be as snug as possible. You don't want anything to not fold in properly. So I'm just going to pinch all the edges in, pinch it, and I'm just doing, come on. So, and yeah, I like to always check in with the mold and make sure that everything is still in order. So as you can see, it's fitting. So I just punched 6 holes, which is 1 centimeter in between, and this is what I'm going to use to create the slots. So what I'm going to do is the 6 holes that I punched, it's basically just 1 centimeter in between all 3. I'm going to use it to make 3 slots. Yes, that makes sense. So first of all, what I'm going to do is punch the holes. Here I'm using 2.5 punches, and now carefully I'm going to join all 6 holes to create 3 slots. I think there's actually a punch for this, but I didn't have it, so I had to improvise with the punching and the cutting. So first I'm going to make clean cuts, joining first at the bottom parts of the holes before I turn it upside down, then do the same thing to literally open it up and make it a full slot instead of just a slit. I'm just going to cut everything open, nice and easy. Join it, and there you have it, guys. You have 3 open card slots. So because I wanted my work to be really flat, so what I used to create the card compartments, I sort of use fabric instead of layering with leather or any thick material. So first I'm going to apply some contact adhesive in between the slots and right on top it. And I have, yes, you need to apply enough because you want it to really soak into the fabric. So you start with the lowest layer, and I just tap it in to make sure that the gum soaks into it. And I'm going to do the same thing all the way to the top part. So this way, when you stick your card in, it doesn't sort of fall all the way to the bottom, or it doesn't just slide all the way down. So I'm sort of creating a demarcation between all 3, so they have all 3 different slots and 3 different compartments. So to seal the bottom, I'm going to do something similar, which is basically applying contact adhesive to the bottom of the piece, and I'm going to lay the lowest fabric on it, and just to sort of secure it in, I just apply a little more glue to make sure it soaks through the fabric and it bonds everything shut. So the same way, I'm going to put some at the bottom of this fabric. Not too much, if not it's going to soak through the one you're placing it on, and it's going to make your work messy. So just enough to soak it, but not too much to make it too sticky. So I'm just going to put on the topmost piece here, and yeah, just tap it a little bit So all clear, and I trim out the edges. And now it's time to join the two pieces. So I just folded the piece in, just to check if it's straight right before I take it for stitching. And yes, you should always check the length. It's very super important. And I'm going to fold it to the bottom so it sort of closes off the edge of the piece. Doing the same thing for the other side. And I just want to make sure everything is sort of snugly glued in right before I take it for the stitching. Just going to bit it a little bit down. Yeah, sorry, my camera lens was shaking. And I'm going to stitch those two sides right before I close everything. So you see here, I sort of sewed and I just applied gum all around it. So now it's time to glue everything shut before we do the final sewing. So here is another reason why you also need a mold, and this is super important. So I'm just going to tuck it in, make sure it encases the mold. And I also applied glue on the zip. So what I'm doing is I'm basically taking the zip all the way around the mold to the other side. So this is how you're going to make the shape of the wallet. This part is always kind of tricky too, because this is the second time I'm doing this. The first time I tried this was when I actually did a long wallet. So this is a shorter version, but it's also almost the same procedure. So I'm just going to carefully fold it down on the sides and then place it in the middle. I also applied contact glue in the inner part of the outer piece. So now I'm basically just going to close it like a book. And I like to make sure it's really tight. I don't want it to be too loose. I want it to really fit around like a glove on the mold. So I'm just going to, at this point, if you want to make some adjustments, it's okay, because even off camera I ended up changing the card slots. I didn't really like the nude I used, so I sort of just repeated the same pattern in the inner part. You guys are going to see the finished work later, but here I'm just tucking in any part of the zipper that's coming out or that doesn't really look straight and neat. So I'm just using my piercing awl to push it down. And you want to make sure that it's not too tight, but it's tight enough to hold the shape of the mold. So when you bring the mold out, it sort of retains the shape. So now it's time to take it for stitching, but now I want to be able to open it all the way. So basically what I did is I pushed in the sides of the zip into the bottom. Remember, I didn't put gum or anything there, so that is for this type of situation. So I'm just tucking the last minute corrections, guys. So I'm just doing some final adjustments. So you can see how I was able to flatten it. I sort of pushed the zippers on the bottom, and this is exactly how I just sewed it out. And I pulled the zipper out and it went back to its former shape. So this is the finished product and this is what it looks like. And this baby is ready to be shipped off to a customer who would hopefully love it. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching the whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. You could give me a shout out on Instagram at Eris_atelier. You could check out my website, Theerisfoundation.com. And if you have questions, you could comment down below. I am all in for comments, questions, recommendations. Bye.